Argentina tried the most extreme economic experiment in the world. 1 year later, millions are poorer, but markets are celebrating. So who's actually winning? A year ago, Argentina made a gamble that shocked economists, terrified unions, and thrilled free market believers. A new president came in promising to burn down the old system. Subsidies, state control, and decades of economic habits all gone. Today, we finally have enough data to ask the real question. Did it work? Or did it break the country? And the answer is far more complicated than either side wants to admit. To understand what happened over the past year, you first need to understand how bad things really were. Argentina wasn't just struggling. It was trapped in a cycle that felt impossible to escape. Inflation was running at over 200% a year. Prices weren't changing monthly. They were changing weekly, sometimes daily. The peso had lost so much value that people stopped trusting it entirely. Workers rushed to spend their salaries the moment they got paid, because waiting even a few days meant losing purchasing power. The government was drowning in debt. Foreign reserves were nearly gone, and Argentina owed tens of billions of dollars to the IMF, with no clear path to repayment. To keep society functioning, the state subsidized almost everything: electricity, gas, public transportation, food programs. But those subsidies weren't free. They were funded by printing money, and printing money was fueling inflation even more. It was a slow-motion collapse that everyone could see. But no one had the political courage to stop. Until December 2023. Javier Milei didn't campaign like a normal politician. He didn't promise stability. He didn't promise gradual reform. He promised chainsaws. Literally. Milei ran on the idea that Argentina's problem wasn't mismanagement. It was the state itself. Too big, too expensive, too involved in everything. His message was simple and brutal. There is no money. And once he won, he moved fast. Very fast. Within weeks, Argentina entered what economists call shock therapy. Subsidies were slashed almost overnight. Energy bills multiplied. Public transportation fares jumped dramatically. The peso was officially devalued, massive one-time drop, meant to end the black market currency system. Government spending was frozen. Public works projects were halted. Hiring stopped across the public sector. The logic was cold but clear. If Argentina didn't stop bleeding immediately, there would be nothing left to save. And on paper, it worked. For the first time in years, decades, even Argentina posted a primary fiscal surplus. That's not a trick, not creative accounting, an actual surplus. Money printing slowed dramatically, and inflation, while still extremely high, stopped accelerating. Month by month, inflation began to cool. Markets noticed. Argentine bonds surged. The stock market rallied. Risk premiums fell. International investors, who had abandoned Argentina long ago, started paying attention again. To economists watching from New York, London, and Washington, this looked like discipline, like responsibility, like the beginning of recovery. But inside Argentina, the story felt very different. Because while the spreadsheets were improving, daily life was getting harder. Much harder. Subsidy cuts meant families suddenly faced energy bills they couldn't afford. Transport costs ate into wages. Food prices remained painfully high. The economy fell into deep recession. Consumption collapsed. Small businesses shut down. Construction froze. And poverty exploded. Some estimates showed over half the population falling below the poverty line. This wasn't theoretical pain. It was immediate, and it was everywhere. So the question became unavoidable. How long can a society endure pain for the promise of future stability? The streets began to fill with protests. Unions marched. Students demonstrated. Retirees, some of the hardest hit, rallied weekly. For many Argentinians, this didn't feel like reform. It felt like punishment. And politically, Milei didn't have an easy path. He didn't control Congress. Many of his reforms were blocked or diluted. Governors pushed back. Courts intervened. Yet despite all this, his approval ratings didn't collapse. Why? Because a large part of the population still believed something crucial. The old system had already failed. Argentina became split into two realities. One side said, "Yes, this hurts, but at least someone is finally telling the truth." The other said, "This experiment is destroying lives now, for a future that may never come." This divide wasn't just political. It was emotional, personal, and deeply economic. For younger Argentinians with no savings, no property, and no future under the old system, Milei represented a last chance. For older generations and the poor, the shock felt unbearable. And both sides had valid arguments. Outside Argentina, institutions watched closely. The IMF cautiously praised the fiscal discipline, but warned about social stability. Foreign investors liked the direction, but wanted proof the reforms would survive politically. Because Argentina's history is full of reversals. Reforms begin, pain rises, public support collapses, and everything snaps back. Everyone was asking the same question. Is this time different? After 1 year, Argentina hasn't collapsed. That alone matters. Inflation is still high, but no longer spiraling out of control. The deficit is gone, at least for now. Confidence, fragile as it is, has returned. But the country is standing on a knife's edge. If inflation continues to fall, if growth slowly returns, if wages begin to recover, then this first year may be remembered as the painful but necessary turning point. But if recession drags on, if poverty remains extreme, if political resistance explodes, then this experiment could end the same way many others in Argentina have abandoned halfway through. And that's the real climax of this story. Not success, not failure, but uncertainty. 1 year later, Argentina is neither saved nor destroyed. It is transformed. The old model, endless subsidies, chronic deficits, and printed money, is broken. But the new model hasn't fully arrived yet. What we're watching is not a result, it's a process. A high-risk bet that discipline today can buy stability tomorrow. History will judge whether this was courage or recklessness. But one thing is undeniable. Argentina chose change. And there was no painless version of that choice. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and check out the channel to find more amazing and new videos.